warm welcome again to all of you. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Michael Stern. I am a course facilitator and trainer working for the Daniel Goleman EI courses. And I'm delighted to welcome my friend and co-facilitator, Patricia, as our guest today. So, hi, Patricia, and thanks for being here.
Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you guys for choosing to be here today and sharing your time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So I want to just mention a few things by way of housekeeping to help us all orient to our time together. Our call is scheduled for 90 minutes. After this introduction, I will guide us in a very short centering practice to help us all arrive and settle. Then Patricia and I will dialogue for about 20, 30 minutes, something like that, depending how it flows. And then we'll have a little time for you all to do a breakout exercise together. And then we'll come back into the main room as a big group to have some time to debrief the breakouts and also just open Q&A time if there's anything that you want to ask Patricia. So that's kind of the agenda. And I want to let you all know that we are recording this conversation and we are planning to use an edited version of the video recording to publish on the DGEI YouTube channel and the audio recording on the First Person Plural podcast. So if you have any concerns about that, I invite you to send a private message to Zarina, who is one of our co-hosts. Zarina, hi. Thanks for all your help. That's Zarina. Yeah, so if you have any questions or anything about the recordings, please let her know. We're happy to support you on that. And what else? Yeah, just a word about these Force for Good conversations. So as I mentioned, I facilitate the 12-week Introduction to Emotional Intelligence course, where we go through kind of a deep dive on all of the competencies in Dr. Goleman's model. And then we wanted to launch these conversations as more of a public way to explore how the field of emotional intelligence is evolving in terms of research, in terms of practice, in terms of applications. And we also want to ask the question, what is the role of emotional intelligence in a rapidly changing world? How can EI serve as a force for good to help us all create a more beautiful world? So those are kind of our key inquiries. And the hope, the intention is to facilitate a sense of community between people who are interested in these topics and to give us all a space to learn from leading researchers and practitioners in the field and also deepen our practice together and work on our skills in real time. So that's a little bit of background. Serena, how'd I do on that? Anything you want to add? Good? Okay, cool. Okay, so with that, I will invite us to drop into a quick centering practice together. So inviting us all to have our feet flat on the floor if you don't already. If you're driving or walking or anything like that, please adjust all of these instructions to be suitable for you. But if you are sitting, have your feet flat on the floor, find a nice tall posture where your spine is straight and you can take easy, full breaths. If you want to close your eyes, you're welcome to do that. If you prefer to keep your eyes open, you might consider just lowering and or softening your gaze a little bit to just bring a balanced sense of being relaxed, but also alert. And then maybe we can start with a few slow breaths, breathing in through the nose. And releasing. One more breath, breathing in. And letting go. And then let's make this our deepest breath of the day so far. Breathing all the way in, filling the belly, filling the lungs. Holding for a moment at the top, feeling the energy move through your body. and then letting it all go, releasing anything you don't need right now. And then just take a moment to scan with your attention, maybe starting at the bottom of your feet and working your way up through your legs at whatever pace feels good for you, scanning up into your hips and pelvis and your belly and intestines and low back and your mid torso, the lungs, the rib cage, the diaphragm, into the heart and chest and the shoulder blades. Just roaming around with your attention, not looking for anything in particular, just noticing what's here for you right now. Moving into the shoulders, maybe down into the upper arms and into the forearms, into the hands and the fingers. Just bringing an attitude of curiosity and acceptance to whatever you encounter. And then shifting attention maybe into the neck, back of the neck, throat, the jaw, the mouth and tongue, the cheeks and the face, the eyes and the muscles behind the eyes, the eyebrows and the space between the eyebrows, allowing all of these little muscles to just soften into a sense of innocence, the forehead, the scalp, just letting all of your muscles soften, letting everything relax and release and melt. If you noticed any places where you're holding tension, you can bring a little extra care there, not trying to make it go away, but just holding it in a warm glow of awareness. Yeah, so just grounding ourselves in our body, in our breath, feeling the sense of contact with the earth. And let's close by just offering ourselves a moment of gratitude and appreciation for choosing to be here, to show up for our learning, for our growth, for our future best selves, so that we can contribute our full range of skills and care to the benefit of the people we come into contact with on a daily basis and spread that benefit far and wide. Okay, so if you want to take another deep breath or two to start to bring yourself back, if it feels good, you can sort of blink your eyes, roll your neck and shoulders, clench your fists, wiggle your toes, whatever feels good. And then rejoin our virtual circle here. So next I'd like to introduce our guest, Patricia Figueroa. So excited to talk with you, Patricia. So Patricia is the first Mexican woman trained and certified by Daniel Goleman as an emotional intelligence coach. Patricia is a wife and a mother. She has degrees in finance, education, psychotherapy. She works globally in both English and Spanish, integrating neuroscience with human behavior, and always coming from the conviction that we can all learn to relate better. Her book, Emotionally Intelligent Relationships, invites us to discover that the tools for building more fulfilling connections are already within us. They simply need to be understood, cultivated, and practiced. And I will add, just on a personal note, that as I mentioned, Patricia and I were co-facilitators of the Daniel Goleman EI course for some years. And I always loved Patricia's passion for this material and her desire to continue to learn and grow her own skill sets, and really just her dedication to supporting the students that went through the course and her coaching clients, and yeah, just showing up with a commitment to excellence and deep intention to be of benefit. So welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so, so excited to be here and have
Good.
this conversation with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super
Thank you
excited.
for
And I feel
thank
at
you for
home.
joining. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. There might be some people on the call right now who are in your cohorts on the course.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hi, Bert.
Kanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so I like to start these conversations by asking our guests to share a personal story. Could be from any time in your life, but just whatever comes up for you. How did you get started on this path of eventually working with emotional intelligence in such a deep way?
Yes, I always like to share this anecdote that was someday about 9 years ago. I was reading Dan's emotional intelligence book, and I think that I was, in about page 8 or 9 when I thought to myself, wouldn't it be amazing just to have, to learn directly from him? And I remember that just maybe 3 or 4 months later, he launched his certification for the first time, and I saw it on LinkedIn, and I applied. And to my surprise, I was selected, and I was part of the very first cohort. So at the time, I was working as a psychotherapist in private practice, and I just started my journey as an executive coach. But I remember that for me, taking their certification completely changed my life. I'm in love with emotional intelligence, not just as a concept, but as a way to make people grow. I always been so passionate about emotional intelligence since I have the certification, and I'm always been so fascinated by human interactions. So that there was like no turning back. I left my psychotherapy practice, and I decided to allocate my time in just executive coaching, but through the lens of emotional intelligence. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And as I said to the Goldmans, you didn't get rid of me at all after all these years. Yes, I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah, once you got in, you went all the way in.
Yes, all the way to the kitchen, everything. Yes. Yeah.
I was saying it's been such a joy to be on some of your EI journey with you. And I'm very proud and excited for the release of your book. And
Thank you.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And would you be willing to share with us a little bit of that story? Like, how did you come to want to write a book? What was it like for you to write the book? Yeah, how was that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, the idea to write a book came from the desire to give something back. I always say that I feel so blessed in so many ways that I feel like I have like this responsibility to give something back. And after working these years as a facilitator with Daniel Goleman's team, I met people from all over the world, and I heard different stories from different contexts, different religions. And I started, like noticing those needs, those pain points, those competencies that needed to be developed in order to be good with ourselves and with others. And they work in all of those contexts. And I saw this need to be seen. I saw this need to be heard. I saw this need to feel that what I say matters to others, and to feel connected and have this sense of belonging to a group. And those stories inspire me so much to write my book, because if you think about it, Daniel Goleman's model, my model complements Daniel Goleman's model, because for him it was, okay, how can we make like leaders thrive and develop their emotional intelligence? My question was different. For me, is how can we make relationships flourish? How can we make relationships thrive? And this is how, my model, started emerging. So in this way, I share competencies with Daniel Goleman, such as self-awareness, emotional balance, self-management, but I also include different competencies such the relational field awareness, that for me is everything that is happening during an interaction with another person, and that influence this interaction, even if we are aware of it or not. So this is how this book, was born, after reflecting on these ideas and those beautiful stories that people with so generosity share with me during the courses.
Yes, I definitely resonate with how inspiring it has been to be in the role of course facilitator and work with so many different students from all around the world and hear about their stories and hear about how they're applying the skills to all of their unique contexts. And I love what you said about how your model complements the Goleman model. I think one of the things that I would often emphasize in the course is that even though a lot of the content is framed around a kind of organizational leadership context and intention, they're really all applicable for anybody in any
Yes.
situation. And I think one of the great gifts of Dan's work over these last 3 decades is taking what is so fundamentally human and translating it into a language where organizational leadership can really hear it and make use of it. And so it's cool to think about how you're now building on that and sort of taking it full circle to be even more widely accessible in a way, but also still
Yeah.
grounded in the research and in the practice that has developed over these last several years.
Yes, I remember so many learners saying things like, but I can apply this with my wife. Yes, absolutely. Or with my son. Yes. And definitely the program helps you to develop as a human being. And then when I decided to write a book, I thought of this idea of all of the information, all of the aha moments that I, being collected through my 20 years of work. How can I include all of this knowledge in a book that feels like a conversation with a close friend, that if I can share it with a friend and she can understand that all the concept and all the tools without being a coach or a psychotherapist or have any background in psychology, something easy to read, easy to relate to, and that they can find tools right away that they can use in their lives and make all those small changes that I know that they have like this huge impact in their lives, in their relationship with themselves, and including in the vision of their world. So this is how this is started. And yes, as you said, the program of Daniel Goleman applies to everyone. But I also remember having friends, like they see me always working with CEOs and in the leadership field. And why don't you, open something for, they say like the regular mortals like us that we don't necessarily have a leadership a position, but we want to learn from you. Even in the course, I always, when we used to have, learners that they don't work in a company, or they were just regular moms that do not have a job in an organization. And we were talking about leadership, but I'm not a leader. Yes, you are. You are the leader of your home. Yes, you will always have someone that follows you. It can be a friend, it could be your kids, but you are always a leader, and you can develop this skill in order to be better with them. So we always try, to somehow make these competencies make sense into their world, even if they are not inside of a company.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we would also emphasize leadership in terms of our way of being, not just our
Yes.
role or what we do with our day, but who are we and what's the energy that we show up with and how do we
Yes.
impact the people that we come into contact with in any kind of situation. And I think you bring such a unique blend. You've worked in business, you've been in private psychotherapy practice, you're trained as a coach. Like you're able to synthesize these different
Yeah.
perspectives. You're also a mom, you have a full household. And
Yeah, I'm a
so
mom of four. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you're also, if I may say so, I think kind of a super mom based on what I know of you,
We
which
should ask my children. Yeah, but
yeah,
no,
yeah, I guess
I'm
that's
just
true.
kidding. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but you bring all of this diverse experience and depth to this question of how to really support people in a very practical way. So let's dig into your model a little bit more, the content from the book. Yeah, can you just give us like an introductory overview to the framework and how you think about this task of communicating emotional intelligence to regular people in a way that's easily accessible and applicable
Yes.
for them?
Yes, yes. Okay, I try to do my best in English. Okay, yeah. For me, in order to have good relationships in any context, either with your colleagues, your friends, your siblings, or you need to have a good relationship with yourselves, and this is where all started. This is why we need to learn self-awareness and emotional balance to understand ourselves better, to understand our emotions, the way that we think, how this impact the people around us. But then I moved to a second domain that is the relationship with others, and this is where I talk about the relational field so much, because I see the relational field like this invisible space that is around two people when they are having an interaction. It is never the same because we are never the same. And this relational field is shaped by internal and external factors. For instance, external factors will be the temperature. It can be if there's a noisy place and we're not even to hear each other, if the other person is distracted, or internal factors that has to do with my circumstances, my story. If I had a problem just a few minutes ago, all of that shape the interaction, and we need to be aware of all that. And I'm not talking about just body language, all the things that we can sense with this sensorial intelligence that we through all of our senses to make this encounter be more fluid, because sometimes we can feel it like so rigid. um, I see it like a dance. When you have a dancing partner, you are moving along. You're somehow like predicting the next step. You are making everything possible to the dance to go in a flowing way, in a fluid way. So we need to be aware of all these factors that are shaping our interaction. There's a saying for Heraclitus that say that we cannot step in the same river twice. And I believe that that happens with people before. We do not meet the same person twice because the relational fields change, because the person has changed and evolved, even if it was like 5 or 6 minutes ago that you saw it. So we need to have all of these aspects into consideration to have better relationships and better encounters. Because at the end of the day, it's not just your experience plus my experiences. Your experience, my experience, and the experience that we are co-creating together. We can all think about a situation when you can think about, I was with this person and we didn't click, we didn't connect. I don't know what happened. And being aware of this relational field is an invitation to just observe the interaction and just to see how can I move along, what can I do more, or what can I do less in my next interaction in order to connect with that person in front of me. So it's kind of that.
Yeah. I appreciate how you include just like the environmental factors. It makes me think of the other day I was with my family and we were going out for lunch and we sat down near a live music performance, but it made it very hard to have conversation. So yeah, it's just I didn't think of this at the time, but talking to you now, I'm realizing like, yeah, that was not very conducive to our relational fields to be somewhere
Uh-huh.
where we really couldn't hear each other very well. And yeah, we made a decision to move so that we could connect more, where we could be more comfortable, where we could sit down and face each other and have a place for our meals. And, it's just like all those little things that really actually made a big difference in our in ultimately being able to have a connective experience with each other, you know?
Yes, and you can really sense when this interaction is fluid and when you are truly connected, because even the bodies, start to resonate and you start moving like the other person in an unconscious way. And you just want to keep sharing and keep spending time with this person. And all of the trust system in the brain just activates. And I want to share more and I want to hear more. And you don't even, feel it gets into a point that you don't even feel that the sense of time. You lose the sense of time because you are so into the conversation. And it doesn't have to be with someone that for your whole life. You can connect with people that you just met. And that happens to me all the time. When you provide like this environment of this secure base, of this psychological safety for the other person, you get that connection and people want to share with you. For me, is I can be on an airport and then talk with the person next to me, and then this person start, telling me about their whole life and struggles. And after 5 minutes, and I always hear like this question: "What am I telling you this? If I just met you?" It's because they felt comfortable talking with me because they have my full presence, my whole attention, and I activate in that brain, in their brain, this trust systems. So they just want to share more. So imagine if we can apply this to all of the relationships that we have. It will be amazing, because at the end of the day, we are social beings. We need that sense of belonging. We need to feel that we matter to someone. And those skills are totally teachable. You are really able to learn all those skills. And that's what I'm trying, to establish in my book, and to have this in my book in a really simple way to understand.
So you mentioned full presence and
Yes.
being able to, you used the phrase secure base and
Yes.
psychological safety. Like, yeah, can you maybe just unpack that a little bit for us? And I'm curious, for you or for people that you've worked with, that you support, what are some of the concrete tools or practices or techniques that you like to use or teach to help
Yeah.
people be able to do that?
Yes. And the first one will be completely present. Be fully present for the other person, because I can be here with you and having eye contact, but if my mind is somewhere else, you will feel it, and I will lose this connection. Okay, so that's like the main objective is just to be really, really there. Trust your inner wisdom. If you are saying something and you saw something in her face that, okay, this is not making sense to this person, just make a pause and ask, what didn't make sense? Do not take things for granted. Just go with the flow and try to dance with the music that is playing, but be completely there, because once you are there, you are able to distinguish all these nuances, all these cues that we are always sending. And once we learn about relational field, you start observing all dynamics. I start my book saying that when I'm in a group, I have this tendency just to lay back and observe, and just observe the dynamics. And I observe when people is interrupting other, or they want their attention, or want to have control of the conversation. And I always question myself, what can be done? What can people do more or can do less, just to have a better interaction? Or I can always tell, when I observe people so much, even when I'm traveling. Once I was, in Europe, and there was a couple, well, a man and a woman, and the man was like super engaged, and I could tell just for the body of the lady that she wanted the conversation to be over. Yes, even her, her position was like somewhere else. It's like, I want this to be over, but I don't want to be rude. So I observe all those dynamics and I adjust myself accordingly in order to connect with the other person, and to make them feel comfortable with me. And even when I was, facilitating the course, I always started, my sessions saying, please be patient with my English. But at the end of the day, what I thought it was liability, it turned out to be an asset, because since we have people from all over the world, they heard my accent and they were, okay, I don't have to worry about accents anymore. And they connected with me in a more, genuine way. So as long as you are able to connect with other person from your humanity to their humanity, everything works out. It doesn't matter what country we're in, what religion we're, it doesn't matter anything. We connect from human to human.
I appreciated you mentioning that as human beings, we are sort of biologically social creatures, right? This relational field is so familiar to us and so deeply important to our state, our well-being. And at the same time, it can be kind of easy to overlook, or there's all these subtleties that we might miss. One of the one of the other streams of knowledge that I think you weave into your model has to do with the systemic approach. And I'm curious if you could say a little bit more about how those systemic dynamics might show up, might affect us. What can we pay attention to? How can we learn to navigate them better? Yeah, how do you think about that systemic component?
Okay, yes. One of the competencies that I have in my model is awareness of the relationship. And in this competency, we learn to assess our relationship and to ask ourselves, do I really want to improve this relationship? Because the intentionality is key. And working with family therapy and systemic therapy, as a psychotherapist, I have so many patients, arriving to my private consultation saying things like, my mom is the worst thing that happened to me. My mom is careful, for everything that is going wrong in my life and stuff like that. So they finish with their narrative on session one, and they expect me they expect me to say something like, you're right, your mom is the worst woman ever. But I have learned that as children, especially as an adult children, our parents did the best they could with the resources they had at the moment. And it's me as an adult that I have to take responsibility of my own life and make out the best out of my life with the resources that I have. Because when I'm blaming someone else, either my mom, my daddy, the government, the market, or whatever, I'm in this place of being a victim. And in that place, I don't have the strength. I don't have power to do something different, because I'm believing this narrative that I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, and I can do anything. So when they shift their mindset that now it's your turn to take care of your life, and especially when you have kids also, I have news for you. It doesn't matter how many courses you have and how many books you read, your kids are always going to complain about something. So make peace with that. They will, work that in therapy someday, but you have to make peace in that, and peace with that, because you know that as parents, you're always trying to do your best with the resources you have and out of love. I remember that when my kids were little, that was this TV show, English TV show called Nanny SOS. And she teaches you that if your kid were, having a tantrum, you need to isolate the kid in a room and wait for him, to regulate himself, and then you will go. And it was like so famous. And I applied that with my second kid, because I at that time I thought it was like the best option, which I was wrong. Because now he's an adult now, and every time that he's overwhelmed with emotions, he isolates himself instead of like sharing their emotions and solving things out. And I know that part of me that was because of that, but I didn't do it out of bad intention. I was doing my best with the resources that I had. I not like double down my strengths, and when I saw that, I need to go there and help them express their emotions and tell teach him the new tools that I know now, but that I didn't know then. Sorry, but I got like so passionate and I started like talking so fast, and I can, my English is just my words, the words just don't arrive as quickly as I want, but I hope I can get the message across, and you can understand the idea that I wanted to share with you.
No, it was very clear, and it was clear for me. If anybody else didn't catch it, please let us know, and
Yes,
we can
I
clarify.
wouldn't be offended, I promise.
But no, I really appreciate you sharing that personal example from your life, and I can certainly relate to that as a parent as well. And yeah, one of the things that I often think about is how becoming a parent creates a certain kind of relation, like a mirror of
Mhm.
my relational patterns that,
Yes.
yeah, with a certain amount of self-awareness and kind of the humility that you were just describing, can be incredibly rich for healing, for learning new methods of both regulating, managing my own emotions, but also supporting other people with their emotions, and yeah, just
Mhm.
rewiring some of those
Yes.
patterns. And from a systemic perspective, I think about, yeah, kind of like how you were saying, well, I probably got those patterns from the way that my parents raised me, and they probably got them from the way their parents raised them. And so if I can just make, a little bit of a positive change in the way that I'm passing those patterns on, hopefully that will create a positive ripple that, yeah, will bring some more benefit to not only my own kid or kids, but also then their partners and their children and their relational fields. So it's an
Yeah.
interesting way to kind of zoom out and think about it like that.
Yes, and all it takes sometimes is just to resonate with a story like that much that makes you make like this shift of conscious that I haven't seen this before, but now I'm not able to not see it, right? And that's what I'm trying, to transmit in my book. All those examples that once you read, it's like, of course, it is so easy now that I'm able to see it and to read it, but I didn't see it before.
Hmm. Yeah.
And with all these kind of anecdotes that I'm just sharing with you is in a casual way, like a conversation, so easy to read and so simple to understand. I remember that when I was studying my PhD, uh, teacher used to say, you have to read like this book for tomorrow and make an essay and this big. And I remember that I got like so good at reading so fast, but I always question myself, why do they have to make this like so boring? You could say the whole thing and like in this much. So for me, I'm not good at giving big speeches with a lot of content. I'm more the type of girl that if you give me the Bible, I will have a summary of 10 pages. That's my way of being, my way of expressing myself, and that shows in my book. Like all of
Yeah.
the things that you need to do. I have a friend that told me, I buy your book and I have, like my marker, my yellow marker. So it turns out that the whole book is yellow because I was, marking everything. Yes. So if
Only
you
the
don't need it, it's
essential
not included.
information, totally
Yes.
distilled. Yeah.
Yes, all the
Yeah.
essential information that you need to be better with yourself and with others. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to putting people in breakouts and giving people a chance to apply some of this to their own life and share some of their own stories. I just have one more question for you before we do that. So
Yeah.
we've talked about the importance of self-awareness and having a good relationship with ourselves. We've talked about the relational field and noticing these dynamics in the interpersonal space. We've talked a little bit about how that then creates these kind of systemic patterns that ripple out over time. So the last piece I want to touch on is just in relationship to the theme of the series and the kind of moment that we find ourselves in on planet Earth with, yeah, artificial intelligence or political destabilization, economic inequality, climate change, all the
Yeah,
things
yes, yes,
that are
yes.
filling our news feeds all day long. How do you see your work equipping us to navigate all of that and hopefully steward it in a more positive direction?
Yes, I know you and I could be, like talking about this for hours, but I will, talk about two concepts. The first one will be artificial intelligence. So we are living in the artificial intelligence era. In someday I read an AI specialist saying that there are people doing good things. There are people with computers doing even better things. And the question that arises for me is, what kind of people do we want behind those computers? So I know that artificial intelligence will shape our future, but what are the kind of people that we need behind those computers? There was an article published by the World Economic Forum that says that our only competitive advantage in this AI era will be our humanity. So we need to develop, and sometimes I say rescue, those abilities that make us more human. Those are much needed, more than ever, are so much needed, including the emotional intelligence, the relational intelligence competencies, the resilience, the adaptability, the being able to coexist with one another, with compassion and with kindness. It is much, much, much needed. So I don't see like EI or relational intelligence are competing with artificial intelligence. We need like this hybrid intelligence that we can include them all and get the most out of both worlds. That's how I see it. And the other concept that I want to share with you is that I think that one of the main illness of humanity nowadays, and this is my personal opinion, it is apathy. We are so disconnected from each other. We are minding our own business. We just don't care. And we need to be more compassionate and empathetic, not just with us and the people around us, but even with our planet and the generations to come. We need to care more. And this is what I see. And we see like all automized process with the AI, but what about humanity? What about our human skills that we really, really need to develop even more, especially with younger generations? Because you and I that, are almost same age, we learn somehow, how to have a conversation with the kid next to us. They don't have it we don't have that in younger generations. They are really good at at connecting through Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, but they don't know how to have a deep conversation with a kid that they just met, or break the ice with a kid that they just met. They are so immersed in their cell phones, and we need to work on that. That's my view.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, I agree. We could probably riff on that for a good while, but in the spirit of keeping on track here, I will move us on to our next part of the agenda. So, Patricia, do you want to introduce the breakout activity for our
Yes.
participants? And Zarina, I'll ask you to get started on the technical side. And yeah, over to you, Patricia.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so I want to invite each of you to think of two conversations you had recently, okay? One that felt natural, effortless, and deeply connected, and another one that felt uncomfortable, tense, or emotionally rigid, just to have it in your mind. And just take a moment to reflect on them. And what I want you to do, and are you going to paste the instructions in the chat? I'm going to read them, but can you paste them in the chat? I want you to reflect on the following question. You will have it in the chat. What was happening in the physical environment? What did the space, the level of noise, maybe the temperature, or the overall setting influence the interaction? Just want you to reflect on those questions. It's not that you have to answer all of them, but I want you to get familiar with the external factors and internal factors that affect an interaction. What did each person bring into the conversation? Were there assumptions, expectations, past experiences, beliefs, or biases that were influencing the interaction? What was your emotional state? What was your energy level? Because sometimes we're just tired and we're not able to have the conversation. Were there fears, stress, or uncertainty? So I want you to reflect on those questions just to start getting familiar with the concept and to see what are the factors that can be like an obstacle when I'm having an interaction with someone. And I will share a quick anecdote with you just to set the mood. I have a 14-year-old daughter. And just I want you to know that the most difficult relationship in life, it is not with a spouse, it is mother and daughter, hands down. Okay, so I went to pick her up to school, and she got into the car, and I was like, and she was like, "I'm not in the mood for sharing. Do not ask him how are you being, and please don't ask me that. I'm hungry." So for her, it's like so self-aware of her feelings or of her emotions that she just warned me. I'm not in the mood to having a conversation. This interaction is going to be so rigid, so don't even try. I need to eat first. So I understood that. So it sounds like a joke, but many times we are not aware of those factors that can make us have a bad interaction with someone, and it was nothing personal. It's maybe the other person had a problem, was hungry, was tired. So be aware of those factors and nuances. Did you paste the instructions?
Yes,
Okay.
Zarina put them in the chat.
Yes, so we're going to send you to the breakout rooms for about 10 or 15 minutes to reflect on that. And you will see that after this exercise, once you move on with your life, you will start noticing those dynamics and move accordingly. Okay? Any questions about the exercise? Okay.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Just want to acknowledge that once we opened the breakout rooms, we had some people dropping off. We had some people joining late. We had maybe some people who were in a breakout room, but not actually physically present at their microphone or video. So just want to acknowledge any clunkiness that may have been part of your experience there and appreciate you all for adapting and playing along the best you could. That being said, I hope that you had fruitful conversations with your breakout partners. And we are now transitioning into our final section, which is an opportunity for Q&A and dialogue together as a group in the main room. So if you have something that you would like to ask or share, we invite you to raise your Zoom hand, and that will create a little queue, and then we'll call you up by name when it's your turn to speak. You can also drop your question or comment in the Zoom chat if audio or video is not available to you right now, and I'll be happy to read that out for you if you prefer to do it that way. So yeah, we want to invite some dialogue and question time here, but I will pass it back to you, Patricia, to take us into that.
Yes. Before we move to the Q&A section, I want you to think about this question and take this question with you. What is the one thing that you could intentionally do in your next important conversation or interaction to create a healthier relational field? That will be like your homework today. And now we can move to the Q&A section.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to share that one thing or ask clarifying questions, get a little free coaching from Patricia,
Yeah,
we can invite that too.
keeping the balance.
I'm just trying to capture that question and put it in the chat as well.
Let me write it in the chat.
Okay, so yeah, the floor is open for any questions, comments, reflections on the breakouts, reflections on anything Patricia shared so far. Would love to hear from any of you. And if you need to drop off, thanks for being here. Oh, quieter group today.
Yeah, and if you feel shy, you can just write the question in
I'll
the chat. No problem.
I'll take a crack here for us, Michael, to
Hello.
break the ice. Hello, Patricia,
Hello.
Michael. Thank you both. So Carrie, Lisa, and I had a chance to kind of get together, and the little mini aha I was having as we were uh, sharing our stories was how much having a shared value system with the person you're interacting with can have an impact on the dialogue. And if there's maybe any sort of conflict or tension in some of those values or approaches, how that can make sometimes the interactions a little more, or the relationship for that matter, a little bit more difficult,
Yeah.
or can linger with us a little bit longer, kind of thing. So it's an observation to share.
Yeah, but you know what? I believe that there's always, a point where we can connect. There's always we are used to fixate on the things that we don't share, but we share so much. My husband said that I have like this. I'm a magnet for grumpy people, and grumpy people like me. But those people that no one can, I cannot stand that person. I don't know how to deal with it. Somehow it gets into a connection with me because I focus on all of the things that we have in common instead of the things that separate us. And it always works. But you just have to observe what's important, what does this person value. Maybe I'm just unoptimistic, but it's been working so far.
I'll mention that in that situation these days, I try to lean into curiosity. Like, even if I'm pretty clear that I do not really share fundamental values with this person, I just try to reframe that as an opportunity to step out of my own frame of reference and just really, what is it like to be this person in the world? And how do they see things? How do they think about things? Why do they care about these things that I don't care about? So, yeah, I think that can be another way to turn it into a practice opportunity.
Yeah, and another really important thing that I always tell myself, understanding do not mean acceptance. I can understand where this behavior come from, but it doesn't mean that I have to accept it. I just understand your world. I know maybe I will make different decisions, I don't know, but I can understand your world.
That raises another question or kind of topic for me that I will ask you about, which is, because I hear you speaking about, as part of empathy, how we can be present for someone, listen to someone, empathize with them without agreeing with what they're saying, without taking it on as our own, right?
Yes.
And so that also makes me think about balancing empathy with self-care, or sort of healthy, clear boundaries. And I wonder if that is, I know that that was something that would come up a lot in the course that we
Yes.
facilitated. Is that also something that you talk about it all in the book, or how do you think about that question?
I was thinking about one time that I have this patient that uh, he was in an abusive relationship, and but it turned out that the father of her husband used to have this abusive relationship with the mother-in-law and one generation above. So now she was able to understand that he learned that way, but it doesn't mean that she had to accept it. He had to make a decision. That makes sense. You can understand why this person is behaving this way, but it doesn't mean that you have to accept it. And that helps you to set these healthy boundaries of what I'm allowing to be in my life or get into my life, and what I don't. What are my limits? But somehow, even in those hard situations, you learn to be compassionate. I understand you, I see you. I don't want to get involved because I can harm myself. But you remove the judgment part. There's a saying that says that if we understand more, we will judge less. But no, we don't always, take the time to hear and to understand the other person.
I'm giving space here because I know I could just keep going back and forth with you. But yeah, I just want to encourage anybody who might have anything to chime in with. Please just raise your hand and we'll bring you in. Yes, that then also makes me think about, on a almost like political level, or just sort of social level, um, having compassion for a human being and their whatever they might be going through that's driving them to make certain choices or behave in certain ways, versus not accepting or tolerating behaviors that are against our values or creating harm in ways that we feel called to stand up for. So I know for me personally, and I think I would argue that it's true kind of collectively right now, that we really need to learn how to do that, how to both have conversations across differences that are rooted in a kind of empathy and compassion for our shared humanity, while at the same time taking really clear stands for what is okay or not in terms of our call to protect the people who need to be protected, something like that. Yeah, so that's one of the places where I feel personally like EI has the potential to play a really critical role in some of what's happening in the world these days.
Yeah, a little spoiler is that during the program, we work empathy, the competency empathy, but also we learn how to empathize with difficult people. And I use the quotation mark because this person may be difficult to you, but not difficult to his mom. And we're doing certain exercises that help us not to justify other people's behavior, but to make you not feel that, that pain in the stomach every time that you see this person. We are working on through empathy to be you to be better with yourself, and do not get engaged with those emotions. And that's the way we work empathy with difficult people. Because I remember one time that I have a learner, and we were talking about all of the things that we have in common and stuff like that, and think about a better story that justifies, for instance, your husband behavior or your ex-husband behavior. And she said something like, so I had to justify him after all of that this has done. Okay, I'm not doing this for him, I'm doing this for you. I'm helping you to be better. There's a saying that says that the ego is the one that judges. Our soul just perceives just perceives the moment. And we want to be more like that, and not to, like qualify our situation, or it's just be in your center and be good with yourself, and not get engaged with other people's negative emotions from a place, as Michael said, of understanding.
And then I see Brad had a comment, leaning in with curiosity resonates well with me, with an acknowledgement that we all have our unique backgrounds and baggage. Yeah, exactly. And I really appreciate what you said, Patricia, about I think you said it in a parenting context, but I think it's a helpful frame to hold anyway, just that everybody's doing the best they can with the resources they have, and just we're all working with what we got. And there's a phrase from a poem that says, there's no such thing as a safe space. We live in the real world. We all carry wounds and have wounded others. And the end of the poem is something like, this space will not be perfect, but it is our space, and we will work on it together.
Yes.
And I love that sentiment,
Yeah, and I really believe that when we know better, we do better.
When we know better, we do better.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions from people lingering from our conversation or from your breakout rooms? Patricia, maybe I'll ask you as a final question here.
Yes.
What's one experience or one story or one highlight that you remember from your course facilitation experience that has kind of stayed with you?
One of the things that stayed with me is when we were working on breakout rooms, and we were teaching them to connect with one another. And they have like these amazing conversations, and we explain to them, the being the fully present and the psychological safety, and created this environment of trust. And they have really deep conversations. And one of the aha moments where if you can do this with a person from the other side of the world that you didn't even know, imagine if you apply this with the people that you care the most. That was one of the biggest insights for the learners. Sometimes it's just sometimes it's a matter of intentionality. Or I really want to be there. I really want this relationship to be better. I want to be better for you.
Yeah, my relationship with my kid is definitely one of my biggest motivations to keep practicing.
Yes, they are, or your greatest masters in life.
Okay, so just in our last few minutes here, I want to give you space to close us out in any way that you would like. And Zarina, I'll ask you to also share some of the information that we have on how people can stay connected to Patricia and check out her book. Oh, perfect. Thank you for doing that. Over to you, Patricia, to close us out.
Yeah, I wrote a quote that I would like to share with you, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to miss any word. And it goes like this: the future will be shaped by AI, but the beauty of that future will depend on our emotional and relational intelligence competencies, and on our ability to coexist with empathy, compassion, and care for one another and the generations to come. Those abilities are so much needed nowadays.
Totally agree. May it be so. May we all learn to live with each other and with these very powerful tools with more empathy and compassion. Yeah.
And remember that we can always be light for someone else. You can always have you can always learn something new from someone, but you can always, share this knowledge to someone else. So we can be light to each other.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, thank you all for being here and inspiring us and each other. And I hope that this conversation offered something of value to you and that you can bring that benefit out with you as you go about the rest of your day. And I hope that you'll all join us for our next one, which will be July 28th. I think we just scheduled. So keep an eye on your inbox and your channels for more details about that. And Patricia, thank you so much. Such a delight to see you and talk with you as always.
Oh, thank you.
Really appreciate you and wishing you all the best with the book launch. And may that also be a wonderful source of benefit for people as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you all for investing this time with us today. Bye.
Yeah, beautiful.